This commercial is an opportunity for those of you who haven't seen the latest Saab, the 9000, to finally get a good look at one. Time's up.
In this video, I'm going to redesign the legendary 1988. Actually, I'm going to do the facelift version of the Saab 9000. So I posted a question on Instagram, what car do you want me to redesign in my next video? And a lot of them were surprisingly Saabs. So here we go. We're going to have a look at the Saab 9000 and turn it into a 2025 model year. I'm going to show you exactly what I want to do with this vehicle. And also, of course, the end result before and after. And while we redesign it, we're going to have a look at the history of this vehicle, because it has a pretty interesting history. Saab in general is just a very interesting brand. They make very unique cars. Unfortunately, they went bankrupt in, I do believe, 2007 or something like that. I can't exactly remember. Before we continue, I'd like to take a minute to thank today's sponsor, Wolfbox. So Wolfbox sent me their MF100 electric air duster to try out. And this is an extremely compact but powerful multifunctional little device. Use it to clean hard to reach areas, for example, in your car interior, your keyboards, mouse, or the inside of your PCs. Now, thanks to the 5 included nozzles, it can also save your breath by inflating pool and beach toys in a matter of seconds. And in addition to that, you also get 2 types of brushes in this package. Now, the design to me looks great. It has a nice solid feel to it, even though it only weighs in at 0.66 pounds. There's a battery indicator at the bottom of the device, an on and off button at the back side. That's also used to adjust the strength of this blower, so you use the same button for that. Switching out the nozzles is pretty straightforward. You just twist them on and off and you'll feel this solid click when it's attached properly. Now, on the front of the device, there's a trigger button to activate the airflow. And I was honestly surprised to see just how powerful this little thing is in its highest setting. Now, there is a total of 3 different airflow levels here. The first feels almost like, I would say, a hairdryer or something like that. Not something crazy. It's probably a good idea to keep it in this setting when dusting off, for example, the inside of your PC with a lot of sensitive electronics and fans that you don't want to break because it's blowing too hard. The second setting is obviously a little bit more powerful, and then you switch it to the most powerful setting and you have yourself a pocket-sized leaf blower. It does not require you to switch out any batteries, which is something that I cannot stand with modern electronics when you still have batteries. Instead, Wolfbox has included a USB charging cable and is fitted with a 6,000 milliamp hour battery capacity for ultra long battery life. Now, if you're interested in getting one for yourself, just go and check out this product in the link in the description and order yours. And thanks to Wolfbox again for sponsoring this video. Before we jump in though, let's have a look at the lineup of Saab 9000s here, starting with the very first model right here, the Saab 9000 CD. And what this means is that right here, this is a sedan. So it might not look like, actually it kind of looks like a sedan because we have the 3-box design here. Is it pretty? Is it a beautiful looking vehicle? You know, I wouldn't say it's a very beautiful car, but it's functional. It's roomy, spacious. You can see the first generation taillights that we have going on here. Then they facelifted this a couple of years later, and we still have the CD. We still had the trunk being a sedan form in the rear end. And I never really noticed until now, when I was making this video, that these taillights, they remind me a lot of the 5 Series of the time. The BMW 5 Series, of course, having very similar styling to the taillights back here. They changed a little bit here, with specifically the taillights, of course, becoming a lot more modern, in my opinion, for the time. And overall, it just became more beautiful in the rear end than the first generation. And then the big facelift happened here. This is a completely different design in the rear end. Here you can see we have CD in these cars right here, and then becomes CS. And this is actually a hatchback, so it might look exactly the same from the outside as the previous models, but they turned the Saab 9000 into a hatchback here with this entire lift, with the windows, the rear window lifting up with the trunk when you're opening the trunk. And we also have now I don't know if I would call this a light bar. It's sort of a booster bar or something like that. You have the reverse light integrated inside of this, and I do like this black top piece that we have in combination with the red. It just creates a much more beautiful looking design than the previous generations or the pre-facelift ones for sure. And last but not least, we have the Saab 9000 Aero, my favorite Saab 9000, of course. And you can see the changes here. We get the 3-spoke wheel designs, which I've never really been a fan of. Doesn't matter what car it's on. But when it comes to Saab, I mean, Saab and 3-spoke wheels, they almost go hand in hand in my opinion. So for this specific vehicle, I would not want to switch out these wheels at all. I would keep them stock. You can see that we got, compared to the regular CS here, these panels in the lower section now became body color. We got a lot more aggressive lower section here, and in the front end we got a lip spoiler there, and of course the wheels are different. Very cool car, this thing, and they got imported to the United States, the Saab 9000. I've actually seen a few of them since I moved here in 2012. They're not very common, of course, but when you see one, it's almost like seeing a unicorn. The same goes for the Saab 95, which I've seen more of than the Saab 9000 here in the United States. We still have, of course, the light bar in the back end. Very clean design. You can see just how big of a difference it makes when it comes to how modern the car looks when we have these panels down here, and also this section at the lower section being body colored and integrated better in the body. It just becomes a completely new vehicle. This is the car I'm going to redesign. What I want to do here, what we need to do, we have this nice shoulder line. I want to keep this shoulder line right here, right in the middle of the vehicle. We need to, of course, switch out the wheels in this case, and also make the wheelhouses a little bit bigger to make it a modern vehicle with bigger wheels, and remove these type of plastic trim that we have, very 90s, 80s trim, and also the side mirrors and these wipers needs to be hidden. The biggest change is going to happen, of course, in the front end. We're going to completely redesign the graphics in the front. I'm also going to lower the greenhouse, because if we look at these cars from this era, the greenhouse is almost 50% of the overall height of the vehicle right here. But if we look at modern cars, it's more like 70-30, so 30% greenhouse when it comes to the height and 70% body in the lower section. So the greenhouse needs to shrink down a little bit. So let's jump in to the redesign here, and let's see how this is going to turn out. And while we do that, let's check out some of the history of the Saab 9000. So it was produced, of course, by Saab from 1984 all the way up to 1998, even though it was replaced in 1997 by the Saab 95. They kept the 9000 in production for another year just to finish off the lineup. It was developed as a result of the success of the turbocharged 99, of course, and the 900 models. The 9000 remained into production until May 1998 and was replaced, as I said, by the 95 in late 1997, although some final cars were produced into 1998. I think it would be very, very cool to find a 1998 production model of the Saab 9000, the very last year and the very final cars of the Saab 9000, when they fixed all the issues with the chassis. It wasn't the most rigid chassis. They actually had to reinforce it over the years because it had some problems with getting warped the entire vehicle, and that's something that they had a problem with the old 900 convertible too. So the Saab 9000 was only available with petrol or gas engines in 2 different 5-door hatchback designs, or as a 4-door notchback. Saab designed the 9000 as a part of his joint development with Fiat Automobiles, which means that it shares a lot of components with the Chroma and the Thema, outwardly similar, which are very similar to the 9000, and as such, much of the bodywork appeared interchangeable between the 9000, the Fiat Chroma, and the Thema. For example, the doors are exactly the same. And I did not know this, but the 9000 was actually designed in part by Giorgetto Giugiaro, a legend when it comes to car design. And he did that in collaboration with Saab's in-house designer Björn Envall. Despite being shorter overall than the 900, which was still produced in parallel. And honestly, I don't think this 9000 looks shorter than the 900. It looks like a much bigger vehicle to me. But it's shorter, however it does have a longer wheelbase than the 900 and greater interior space as well. And in total, 503,087 Saab 9000s were manufactured between the years we talked about. Now, the original Saab 9000 model was called the Saab 9000 Turbo 16. It was a 5-door hatchback, only available with a manual gearbox and the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder 16 valves, coming out at 175 horsepower. And it has a drag coefficient of 0.34, very competitive for the time. For the 1986 model year, it was fitted with a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, putting out 160 horsepower. Saab also introduced a fuel-injected, naturally aspirated engine for the 9000 during the same year, and this only pushed out 125 horsepower, so this was not a very quick car. So for 1987 model year, a 4-speed automatic transmission made by ZF became available. In 1988, Saab introduced a 4-door saloon variant of the 9000 known as the CD, and these are the ones I showed you in the beginning of this video. The front of the sedan was different, more modern and more streamlined than the hatchback models. This involved smoothing the edges of the headlights and grille and sloping the front outwards, and I think it looks a lot better than the original 9000 for sure. In 1998, the output of the both the 2-liter engines increased slightly through optimization from 160 horsepower to 163. So you got an extra 3 horsepower there. And for the naturally aspirated model, it went up from 125 to 128. So nothing to really write home about there. And for the 1991 model year, the new engine also became available with a turbocharger, and this put out 195 horsepower. Now we're starting to get into the exciting numbers, because keep in mind, these cars back in the day, they also weighed a lot less than what modern cars weigh today. So for 1995 model year, a 3-liter V6 from General Motors, rated at 210 horsepower, was now introduced as a standard for the CDE trim, and it was an option on the CSE trim. And of course, in 1997, the end of production of the 9000 came to be, with the successor of the 9000 called 95 being introduced right here. So looking at the redesign here, what I wanted to do is nothing crazy really. I just wanted to keep the original soul of Saab. I took the beautiful 2007 Aero X concept front end. I think that was an insane concept with this big, coupe-like shell that opened up like a fighter jet. And I think that design today, if you look at the Aero X, specifically from a, I do believe, 3-quarter rear view, if you look at that car, it looks like it could be a modern supercar. And I still think it's one of the best looking Saabs of all time for sure. So I wanted to take some inspiration from that and slap that onto the front end. And of course, we talked about the greenhouse. Greenhouses, the ratio between the body and the greenhouse has changed a lot. If you look at any car of the 80s and going back to the 70s, you can see that the greenhouse was a lot taller than what it is today. It's shrank down a lot and became a lot more cozy, with the bodywork stretching out, the shoulder line stretching out a little bit higher. So that is obviously something we need to change here. We want to make this into a modern version. And last but not least, I want to slap on some wheels here. Also the Aero X wheels, which I think suits Saab, because it's almost like a propeller going back to Saab's original products, which were airplanes and fighter jets. The last thing I wanted to do here, this is, again, one of these redesigns where I finish the redesign, I step away from the computer, and always when I come back, there's always something I need to change, something that looks a little strange. And in this case, it was the sharpness of the greenhouse, because if I look at the front-end graphics of this vehicle, this redesign, it didn't really suit it to have this boxy of a greenhouse like we had in the original Saab 9000. So I had to smooth out the corners of the greenhouse a little bit, and call that a day. And that is the redesign of this vehicle. I also changed out the mirrors, of course. In here you can see the before and after. So we have the before right here, after, and I think it looks pretty sick if Saab were to come back and drop one of these models, something like this. I think it looks really cool. You can see the smoothness of the greenhouse looks a little bit better than what I had in the very end of the redesign, where it was super sharp. Just smooth them out a little bit, looks a lot better. You can see the Aero X wheels I had to redesign, or I had to put in larger wheel arches or wheel houses here in order to fit these wheels, and also to make it look a little bit more modern, as you can see. And I also wanted to lower the car to the ground by adding these pieces in the lower section of the car, similar to what we had in the graphics here in the middle for the original 9000, but now move those graphics down to this area down here. It's very sad to see that Saab has gone out of production and gone bankrupt, unfortunately. Growing up in Sweden, I mean, Saab was a legendary brand to me, and I hope that someday maybe Saab can come back and do some more crazy designs that they've been doing throughout the years. Very unique brand, and something that I definitely miss in the industry today.